This is episode 9, Figuring Out Fatherhood. I'm here today with my brother, Daniel. What are you saying? Are you good?
Good, I'm good, yourself.
I'm here, man. Tell us a little about yourself, Daniel.
Where do I start?
Your name? How old are you?
Well, that would always be helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
My name's Daniel. I'm 29 years old.
Okay.
I'm a photographer, videographer, and creative director by
Singer
trade.
as well. Don't
Singer,
leave that out.
obviously, yeah.
Social media mogul.
What? Is it? Didn't know that still. I'm very heavily on social media. I'm very much about mental health amongst like men, particularly black men, because we don't talk about it. I'm a father of 2.
What are the names? Do you mind sharing that with us?
My daughter's name's Kayla.
Okay.
My little boy's name is Joel.
I'm noticing the trend because episode 7 and 8, it was Kaylin and Kaylin. That was Kayla.
I know everybody, because people like K's. They just, I don't
I
understand
hear
it. It rolls off the tongue. I don't know. Really.
And your son's name is?
Joel.
And how old are they, sorry?
My little girl is 7 and my
Okay.
little boy is 3.
Nice, so you got 2 kids.
2 kids, man.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So the main reason why I brought you today, I wanted to talk to you about the mental health challenges you faced as a father. Because like you mentioned, you're a big advocate for mental health. And I know that I personally have struggled with my mental health since I've had a child. Like, I don't talk about it very often. I don't really talk about it at all, to be honest. So I thought this would be a good opportunity for us to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Because you've done this a lot longer than I have, so I want us to have this conversation.
Yeah.
So tell me, so when you found out you're having your first child, how were you?
If I'm being honest, yeah, the biggest mental health challenge I had was actually my second. And when I had my first, I was with my partner for a while, so we kind of knew we wanted our first child. I was relatively young, but we got together young. So
So but you both knew you wanted, you knew.
we both knew they wanted.
Okay.
So with my daughter, it wasn't like a shock kind of thing. We knew what he wanted. My son was a little bit different because of the nature as to where he was born. So with my son, I try and shorten as much as possible. We were on holiday. We were roughly about 6 months and a bit basically pregnant, so it was cool to go. We just went to Europe. And basically, round about the 4th day, like 5 in the morning, my missus was like, I'm starting to get pains. I was thinking it's something that she had ate the day before because she said she had like tummy complaints. Anyway, I had woken up to her kind of making noise or something like that, so I, let me go and get the doctor or whatever. There's no doctor on site. So I run back into the room. At this point, she's like, I think the baby's coming. I said, you're joking. This is like, we're talking about 6 months and a bit, so it's heavily premature. She's like, no, I think he's coming. I run back, I'm like, look, I run to the reception, call an ambulance, blah, 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 blah. I get back, literally, as I get back, she's on all 4s, and the baby's head is literally poking out. So we just spread towels on the floor. We were just like, okay, just hold, I'll grab him, whatever. Literally, within like a couple of seconds, boom.
You might be my new hero because I know that at that point in time, Chris Topper, would have passed out. At that point,
Bro,
I would have passed out.
Bro.
I know myself enough. I'm so squeamish and seeing someone's head. Yo.
and because of the time frame, because
Yeah.
obviously I'm thinking, he's heavily premature, so I'm so scared about the future. But I'm also scared about the fact that I'm not in my home country.
Yeah.
So I'm in they don't really speak English too tough here. I don't know what the care's like, so I'm panicking. So he comes out, he's not breathing. So I'm like, man. Thankfully, the ambulance got there at the exact same time that he came out. He's now got oxygen, and so he's not breathing properly. But they're like, look, let's get him to the hospital. Boom. My missus goes, he gets to the hospital. I get to the hospital now, I'm like, where's my son? They're like, he hasn't arrived yet. So like, okay, you guys come. Like, what do you mean? Obviously, English is rubbish, not saying anything. So like, he hasn't arrived yet. Literally a couple hours later, they had to take him, like, basically to go and get incubated or whatever, get him oxygen, whatever. The doctor comes up to us like, basically what happened is, on the way to the hospital, your son died. So basically your son was completely dead, he was declared dead. They had to bring 2 ambulances and basically swap, because the ambulance that had him before didn't really have the experience. They brought another ambulance, brought him back to life, they drove him back, and basically that's how your son was. So basically you could have lost your son. So I'm thinking, okay, right. So now they're talking to us, right, so how's my son? He's saying, look, his intestines, basically, he was born with intestines outside of his stomach. So basically, when you looked at it, you could actually see his intestines, literally 3D basically. They had to stitch it back. He had a lung that was collapsed. Like literally, my son went through hell before he could even like talk. So at this point, as a father, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is really mad for me because this wasn't what I expected. And obviously, what I'm thinking in my head is obviously they're telling me premature. There's going to be a lot of problems he's going to have. There's going to be a lot of issues. So I'm just scared. Like I'm afraid as a father. And at that time, as much as I loved my daughter and stuff like that, I was at the point where I thought to myself, I don't think I was ready to be a father at that time. I was still struggling with that. And then obviously I've had my son. So time's going on now, and I'm like, okay, so thankfully he survived. He was up basically just up in Portugal. He was up there for like 3 months. I was going back and forth for work just to make sure he was okay. And it's like, I'm looking at him now, boy, he's healthy, like nothing wrong with him, like right as rain or whatever. But that period, at that point, that's when I kind of realized, not even just the situation that I was going through, but as a whole, I don't think I was ready for this fatherhood thing. And it probably played a lot on my mind as to how I treated him. Not that I treated him wrongly, but that there was almost this sudden sadness every time I saw him, because I felt like I wasn't ready for it. And I felt like I couldn't be the dad that he wanted. But I tried heavily, and I don't think it was ever anything to do with me being a bad father, but I just kind of felt like inadequate. And that played heavily on my mind. Even till today, like, I love my son, he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But it plays heavily, and sometimes like I feel like I'm not enough for him. And that's that constant mental battleground that I've had even up until now.
Yeah, I respect that. And you know what, thank you for sharing that with me, actually, because, and I guess with us, because everyone else is going to watch this. So when you see him now, how do you feel? Because you seem to be in a much, much better space for as long as I've known you anyway. So how are you now? Do you still feel like you face mental health challenges as an effect from having kids? Does that make sense? Like,
I feel like, so I'd say like a year ago, when I was in the worst place that I was, I had times where like I'd pick up my son and I'd be like, I'd start crying in front of him. My son don't know anything. He's a little boy, he doesn't get it. What I was going through was, again, this feeling of inadequacy, but I almost felt like you deserved better. Not just from the father's point of view, but also the life that you had, that you didn't deserve to go through what you went through, so on and so forth. And it's like, what kept happening is then it kept playing on my own inadequacy, because I was struggling with depression, I was struggling with suicide, I didn't want to be here. So at that point, I'm like, I kept convincing myself that it would be better if I was gone, because I felt like a burden to my kids. And so again, every time when I pick him up, there are times where I'd call my ex and I'd just be like, you know, look, I cannot pick him up today, because if I pick him up, I'm going to be in a state where I'm just going to be tearful, and that's not the care that I want to give to my son. And that happened a few times, and it took probably coming out of the depressive state that I was in for me to realize, obviously, that's not true. But heavily, it still plays on my mind about that inadequacy. And that's what I'm constantly have to battle, because I have to convince myself that, yes, I do need to be in this world life. Yes, I'm here for a purpose. Yes, I'm here for a reason. And it's a constant struggle. Like, that's daily. And I think as I get older, it gets better. It gets easier, because I know that I need to be in this life. But at that point, I think if I had let those thoughts play on me, it probably could have taken me. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Okay, and now you also mentioned that obviously it was harder for your second child, sorry. But when you had your first, because given that these were, for lack of a better term, these were extenuating circumstances, they're not your regular. So when you had your daughter the first time, how did that impact your mental health? You saying it was harder the second time doesn't take it from the first time.
Yeah, no, you're correct.
So how did you actually feel in that point in time?
When I first had my daughter, because I think my relationship with my partner at the time was going well, but when I had my daughter, my dad had passed away. Okay. So literally around the time that I think it was either just before she was conceived or born, I can't remember the time frame, but anyway, around that time, that's when I lost my dad. The problem was, where the struggle was for me, was because my relationship with my dad wasn't great. Okay. Because my dad, being a typical African man, unfortunately, they don't know how to love sometimes. They're not all like that, but the majority. I
understand.
So it's like, that was already a struggle for me at that point, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, so I have no idea what it's like to have a really good father in my life who cares or whatever. So I've got no reference point. So now I'm thinking about okay, how am I going to do better? Like, how can I be different from generations? My brothers had kids, they've been great. My dad's not the best. And so I'm trying not to emulate that. I'm trying to be better. But I had then lost him. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, like, my God, I've lost my dad, who I wanted a relationship, who I wanted that from. I didn't get that. And now all of a sudden, I've got to wake up to provide that for my daughter. And it was a massive struggle because as beautiful as the moment was, there was still this constant ticking in my head like, are you going to be able to be a good dad? Because you don't even know what that is. Like, you haven't seen that. So what are you going to emulate? You can only emulate my brother's relationships and stuff that I've seen on TV. I don't know anything else. So it became like a constant battle of like, can you actually do this? And I was young as well. Like, I was 21 at the time when I had my daughter. So I was like, age had a thing to do with it as well. So there was always a constant, I don't know. There was always a constant doubt in my mind. You know, obviously as you got older, I learned on the job, and that's what you do. That's effectively what fatherhood is. As much as you might be like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where I'm going, you get to that point. That's how you learn. There's no other way of doing it. But that period, I'm pretty sure I would have disqualified myself because I just what I could do it.
Okay, so during that period, how did you? The reason I'm asking this is because I want people to be able to watch this and be like, help them to identify that maybe they're having mental health struggles. If that's making sense. So during that period of time when you first had your daughter, how were you able to identify the fact that you're struggling with mental health? Because sometimes you might have like a low day, but you might attribute to something else, like I'm just tired or I'm struggling a week at work. How did you realize, oh, hold on a minute, I'm struggling with mental health now? Like, what was the light bulb moment, should I say? What was that point where you just realized?
I think the problem is with my daughter, because of how the time frame was. My mental health struggles started literally with my dad. Well, they started before, but as in when I went into like depression, suicide as an adult, was when my dad passed away. Okay. And then at that point, I was very much using distractions to just kind of get away from it. So I was just going with the moment. I was just being a father. I was just trying to be a good partner. Blah 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 blah. That's all I was doing. It was only up until I had my son did I realise, there's actually something wrong, because bar the extenuating circumstances. The fact that I would see my son and feel this sadness, not because he's here, but because of my inadequacies, that was where I was like, something needs to switch on. And then again, when I was struggling with suicide and wanting to take my own life, my kids being there, it got to a point where I was like, I don't know if it's going to be enough. And that was an honest question. And I think when I started to ask that question, that's when I needed help. Because if, in spite of my kids being here, I still didn't want to be here, I knew that there was nothing that was going to keep me here.
So you're not saying it's nothing to do with you not loving them enough?
No.
It's the fact that you actually knew there was something wrong?
Yes.
So that's what helps you identify that?
100%.
Okay. I understand. And how about now? When you have your low days or when you have times where it's just like you're struggling mentally, what do you do to help you out of that slump? Can I call it that? Is that a slump?
Yeah, because it is a slump.
How do you pick yourself up and get yourself out of that space mentally? I
guess nowadays the episodes are less frequent than before.
Episodes,
that's the word I guess you would use for it. Yeah. I guess episodes, they're less frequent than they were before because it was heavier before. Therapy was the first thing.
Okay.
Therapy was the thing that probably I'd say saved my life. I spoke about stuff to do with my childhood. And what my therapist was able to do was look at trauma that I didn't realise was trauma. No one could have told me that prior to that. And then I realised, this is what has affected me. So now I started to realise, this is where I went wrong as a child, and this is where my parents, quote unquote, failed as parents. Let me not do the same. So now I adapted that. So it's like, even though I'm looking at my own inadequacies, I'm looking at, how can I get around it? So that's one of the first things. Don't make my parents' mistake. For me personally, it's like I'm looking at the fact that something small, like being there at every little thing, school days, plays, whatever it is, I made it my aim that I'm always going to be there. It doesn't matter if I've got work, it doesn't mean nothing to me. So now, when my kids grow up, they'll always have that mentality of, he was always there. I don't have that. I can't remember my dad being at anything. Do you know what I mean? And so, it's like those little things made me a better father. When I'm in the slumps, I just have to find things to distract me. So I take a lot of pictures, I edit a lot. I get my brain in that because it allows me to just get away from kind of the sadness that I'm thinking about. Obviously, I spend a lot of time with my kids, and so when I'm with them, I do feel happy, and I try and get out of the house and do stuff with them. It helps. But honestly, when you get the lowest days, you just have to think that you're here, not just for them, but you're also here for yourself, and that you're not a burden to them, that they actually, not only do they need you, but they want you here. And I think it's when you come to that mentality, you start to realise it isn't just about, I've got to be around just for them. I want to be around for them because they want to go out with a father by their side. And I guess what clicked for me and when I came out of it was when I said, I don't want my kids to grow up knowing that their father's taking their own life, and then when they're at that point, they're going to do the same thing as me. And I'm like, I don't want to give them a reason to not be able to hold on to keep going. So for me, it was like I've got to keep going. Like I've got to keep pressing through these bad episodes and these slumps, and I've got to look at the positive. I've got to look at, you know, the bright picture, the purpose and stuff like that. And so that's what gets me out of it. And yeah, like I said, good distractions. Therapy is at the top of the list for me. And I think whether you battle with depression or not, I think you should go to therapy.
You know what? I'm happy you mentioned that as well, because as a takeaway from this, I honestly believe that we need to normalize therapy. Like, there's a stigma behind it, especially when it comes to like men. You just don't want to. It's attached to weakness. Unfortunately, it makes it seem like, for lack of a better term, it's like you need help. No one else feel like they need help, but in reality, we all do in some way or form. As much as I hate to admit it, we all do. So I will like normal. I'm happy that you shared your story, and I feel like we might add a trigger warning to this actually. Just in case. The
story can be. That's why I don't really talk, because
nice, man. Thank you for sharing it with us, man. But yeah, Daniel.
Thank you for having me.
Plug in everything you do, please.
Twitter, DB Captures with an X, so DVCX. The rest of the word is how you spell it.
You said with an X, like we're supposed to guess.
Well, obviously you take in the captions, innit? You take the A out, you add an X. That's how it's supposed to work, because I just thought it was a bit obvious. But anyway, I'm on Twitter, Instagram. My website is DB Captures with an A. So if you need a photographer, holler. I do sing, you know, sometimes if you feel like it. Listening to that, DVTN official. You know, you'll find that. I know he'll put the somewhere around here. And it's been. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Thank you. I'm just gonna trigger on it. Back. You can go.
Okay.